Hey everyone, welcome into Nebraska Shootaround. Mike Sautter, Jacob Padilla. Before we get to Nebraska and the importance and the historical importance and everything involved in Nebraska men's basketball win over Purdue, and we'll talk probably a little loss to Wisconsin, I want to tell you about the Omaha Supernovas. The Supernovas roster includes NCAA national champions, All-Americans, and Olympians. And did you know that their first match is January 24th against the Atlanta Vibe at the CHI Health Center in Omaha, and the first service set for 7 p.m. It is the inaugural, very first match ever of the Pro Volleyball Federation.
Yep.
So get your tickets at supernovas.com if you're so inclined. Okay, now on to basketball.
So, yeah, you were at a big game last night.
Nebraska
we recorded here.
It was fun. It was fun. It really was.
Yeah.
Like, the environment was fun. Like, I don't have rooting interest in, like, I never really do, but I enjoyed myself. It was a good time.
I'd say I was on that beat for 8 years. I don't think I ever got to witness a court storming.
This is the first time I've ever witnessed a court storm in person, a court storming, a field storming, anything like that.
I was
ever.
I was at Creighton for the Long Beach State game when Antoine Young hit the game winner, and then there was time left, so they had to hurt everybody off the court.
Always comes back to Creighton.
You brought it up.
Everything always comes back to Creighton for you.
So now we're even, 1-1 on court stormings.
Okay, Nebraska wins 88-72 over Purdue, and man, they played really well defensively. I guess everyone looks at the box score, right? Which you should, because they shot lights out.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, let's start with the defense.
Defensively, they were. I mean, you could tell the game plan, the energy. Well, first of all, the energy, effort. The toughness that was going to be needed to win that game.
Night and day from
Wisconsin.
Previous,
yeah, I mean, I was at the Wisconsin game in Madison, and they just looked a little slow, just kind of, and this game was totally different. Now, home versus road matters a little bit in that, but it felt like, and even Coach Hoiberg said in the post game after the Purdue game last night, that they practiced really hard on Sunday. They got after him pretty good on Sunday, the day after they got smacked. But that's that's what happened. And I think it maybe paid off. Now what do you do, going forward? But defensively, they were they were killing.
Yeah, and the same game plan that they've used against Purdue and ED last year. It's the hard, immediate double teams, and they were double teaming the post regardless of who it was.
Yeah, they would just do. That's what they kind of do anyway.
Yeah, but even they took it to another level.
Yeah,
how the aggressiveness and the way they're switching. That's the thing that stood out to me, is just how connected they were for a lot of that. We've seen them play kind of the chaotic style where guys end up losing guys and. You give up wide open shots or breakdowns. There weren't many of those. Like they were on the same page. They were flying around. They got out there. You're gonna give up some threes, but that's the bet they're willing to make, is that you're not gonna hit enough of we're not gonna be able to stop you one-on-one inside well enough. We're betting that it's the game plan that worked against Creighton last year.
Yeah.
And I mean, Purdue hit 13 threes, but it took 33 attempts.
Yeah, it was too many. I will say this. Another key piece was high hands on Edie right away. Active high hands. I mean, Mass it felt like immediately once Edie caught it, it was hands straight up in the air. And as tall as you can get.
And everybody else, too.
And everyone else on the double.
The post entries, a lot of deflections there.
Yeah.
14 turnovers for Purdue that Nebraska forced. 9 of them were steals.
Right.
That's huge.
You get 9 steals. That's cooking.
Purdue only took 24 two-pointers, made 11 of them. And they only took 15 free throws as well. So they did hit 13 threes, but if we want to transition, we want to transition to the offensive side for Nebraska.
Actually, 13 to 33 isn't bad. It's 39%.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But they were able to limit them effectively in the other two areas. And
it wasn't the other like side, timely ones. But Nebraska shot the
Nebraska hit 14 threes.
Yeah, there was 61% from 3. 14 of 23 is incredible.
Never seen anything like that from this program for sure.
Again, the Mendoza line or whatever line, like you want to be 35 to 40% is like key. As a team, they were 60% of the team. There was no way they were losing that game.
Round that up. Give them a 61%. 60.9%. Like that is they earned every bit of that.
And from the field, they're 51%. Yeah, which is incredible.
So they were 15 and 34 on twos, which is not a great percentage. And there was we'll talk about some of the shots, but they got 15 twos, and they made 16 free throws, took 19, and went 16 and 19 from the free throw line. So they won all 3 categories that you can score, and that's how you pull off a 16-point victory.
Yeah, I mean it was from the jump. I mean Rink Mass outscored them 7-2,
28 to 20 in the paint.
Yeah,
and Rink was a big part of that.
Yeah, defensive. I mean, I guess wrote about it. Rink's toughness and what he's gone through since he's been here is kind of remarkable. I mean, after the game, the dude's had huge scratch down his arm. He ran into a shoulder, and that's a double bloody nose.
It was like face to face.
Yeah, like bam. Yeah, and like nose just starts bleeding. He's out for like a minute or two, and Josiah Alec comes back in, does a really nice job, or comes in, does a really nice job defensively, and it just, I mean, they played so well. Nebraska played so well. They're now 3-2 in the league. One other note that I want to note on defense is, Indiana and Wisconsin really killed them at the front of the rim when you double the post. When they would double kind of that short corner post, they just dive to the basket. Well, Juwan Gary was the hedger or the guy stopping that on multiple occasions.
He was basically playing free safety. Like he was flying around. Yeah. He wasn't even guarding his man.
Right.
Essentially.
And he was not allowing, he was getting to the, I guess, midline or whatnot in the middle of the paint quicker than the Purdue player could, whoever it was, and stopping that dive to the basket to the front of the rim that worked so effectively for Wisconsin. Also, high hands on both guys when they're doubling the post on Edey. I'm not sure Edey's a great passer, so that kind of changed. Something. That's a big improvement from what they did against Indiana and Wisconsin, because Indiana and Wisconsin took full advantage of that. And the rotations coming back around where they give up a couple of open threes, but it wasn't a ton. Even if they did swing it back around and Juwan was late or Bryce Williams was late or something like that. I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, that's the best probably defensive effort they've had. I mean, statistically, you can go back and look at like South Carolina State or something, but like I'm just talking from a energy effort level, everyone was pretty locked in.
Yeah, and Edey finished with 15 points, 7 boards, 1 assist, 3 turnovers.
He had 2 points in the first half.
Yeah, and he couple of 1 or 2 putbacks, 1 to 2 off of a baseline play that Will executed. For the most part, they did not give him opportunities in the half court. They rarely let him get to his spot. He had 1 or 2 of like his deep catch, jump hook little thing over the top that he can't do anything about. But outside of that, every shot was a step or two outside of where he's comfortable. And again, they didn't really create anything out of the. I mean, not anything, but they didn't create a lot of great looks out of the double teams because Nebraska flew around and forced some tough ones. So that was huge. I think Keisei Tominaga led the game in scoring. 5 of 9 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line, 4 assists in 32 minutes. And man, the shots he was hitting,
the one off balance 3, like he hit one on the wing that was way off balance. I mean, he was way off balance and just somehow got it around a guy and like win it. I don't even know how. Like he was falling, kind of almost looked like he was falling out of bounds on the Purdue bench, and there was a hand in his face, and somehow he got it off, and it went in.
Yeah.
When that went in, it was like, okay, this is over.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and that was the run at the end of the first half where in case they hit one of those real tough
that
ones.
13-0 run was that was the difference. That was a huge difference in the game.
And then made the extra pass to Sam Hoiberg, who hit a 3, who had a huge game as well. 9
Hoiberg
points.
had two pick sixes, basically.
9 points, 3 assists, no turnovers.
Pick layups.
Had a couple, steals and taking it the other way. Had a great catch and reverse on a baseline drive. Like he was feeling it.
Layup.
Look kind of like the Maryland game last year, where it's like, whoa, the kid might be for real. It's like, wow, this keeps going.
He played hard. That's just what you always get from him. But the guy Bryce. So Casey, before we move on from him, in the last 3 games, he's averaging 21.3 points on 57% shooting and 12 of 25 for 48% from 3-point range. And that's 3-game total. He's at 48% in the last 3 games. That's remarkable.
That'll play.
Yeah, if you can continue that, good luck.
Yeah.
There's no way. Also, CJ Wilcher came off the bench last night.
16 points.
It was awesome.
3 or 4 from 3.
He barely missed.
Yeah, had a bucket inside, 5 free throws.
Yeah,
16 points in 19 minutes.
Right. At one point it was 16 points in 16 minutes. I think he is averaging 13.4 points per game on 65% shooting over the last 5 games. Even better, he's shooting 61% or 14 of 23 from 3 in the last 5 games.
That's what Nebraska shot in this game. Funny.
5 games combined.
Yeah.
He's 14 of 23 or 61%.
That's wild.
Off the bench.
Yeah. Yeah, and we mentioned Mass, 18 points, 8 of 17 shooting, no free throws, 3 assists, 1 turnover.
That's okay.
He
threes,
ended up some. Yeah,
the 3 to start the
2
game.
of 5 from 3.
Yeah, the 3 to start the game was like, okay, we're here.
And there were some
some good energy.
And there were some wild misses, but he was not afraid to go at Edey. You'll take those because some of the buckets he scored on him as well. Really energized the team, the crowd.
He was taking people off the dribble.
Yeah.
Not just Edey,
twice.
but not just Edey.
Twice he got to the basket all the way, left-hand finish. He was playing well. And then Juwan Gary, 12 points, 5 boards, 50% shooting, hit his 3. But
the guy.
So those
Bryce
are all double figure scores. Bryce wasn't quite there, but he was close in other areas.
It doesn't matter. He almost had a triple-double.
Yeah, questionable coming into the game. He tweaked his ankle at the end of that Wisconsin game,
I think it's more of a foot. It sounded like something with his foot. And it was right at the end of the Wisconsin game. And it was like, oof, yeah, this is not going to be good. Didn't practice Sunday, didn't practice Monday. He said after the game against Purdue that he spent more time in the training room than his apartment the last 2 days. Yeah. So, he worked really hard. They needed him. Yeah. They really did. He was, and it's very interesting. So he was kind of the lead guard for majority of the night.
I had that note as well.
In the game. And
9 points, 11 rebounds, 9 assists, only 2 turnovers.
That's incredible. And
played 30 minutes on the bad wheel.
Yeah, that's some toughness there a little bit. I mean, you look at it, and I did notice it was about the 10-minute mark in the second half. I'm like, he's like the lead guard right now tonight, handling the ball, bringing it up. Another guy,
Rink and Bryce were the ones initiating all their actions for most of the night.
Interesting because Rink kind of had the Derek Walker role a little bit,
And a couple of those,
Derek brought it up.
And Derek was in the house watching.
Yeah, Derek brought it up. If you remember last year, Derek brought it up a lot and was kind of the initiator. I think that was maybe a little by plan, just to maybe try and get Edey away from the basket.
And it's a lot of what they do anyway, because especially recent, the point guard spot hasn't really come along.
There isn't a point guard, like a traditional point guard.
We talked about Coleman's kind of falling out of the rotation. And Jamarcus, he only played 18 minutes, didn't score, 1 assist, 1 turnover, so wasn't really clicking for him. So Bryce stepping into that
Sam
role.
Hoiberg off the bench isn't
off ball
point guard,
on ball defender, off ball.
Yeah, player. So I don't know. 8 guys, whatever, that played against Purdue were significant contributors in a big way. Alec defensively, and then he hit that 1 3. He's 1 of 1 from 3, the corner 3. When he took it, it was like, oh no, and then bang. Okay, good, yay, like went in. So it was a little. I mean, fast break points. Nebraska won 13-1. Second chance points, Purdue won 11-7. No big deal. But the points in the paint, 28-20. It's huge.
So the 14
and turnovers.
The 14 for 23 from 3. That's not sustainable. That's never going to happen again this season.
It's hard.
But everything else they did, that is sustainable. And it wasn't like they just scraped by, like they needed every single one of those threes. They outplayed them in all the other areas as well. And the threes were were what turned it into a Nebraska handling them and a double-digit win there. So. Huge, especially for Nebraska to bounce back. You mentioned that Wisconsin game where we were sitting here last week. Okay, is a chance for them to prove what they are, and they went up there and they fell on their face.
Yeah,
for them to pick themselves back up and to get this win. Now you have to avoid that same fate when you go to Iowa City coming up.
Also, Wisconsin is good.
Yeah,
like they're pretty. They
played really well.
They shot the out of it.
13 of 26.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like Nebraska did.
Nebraska also shot 12 of 26, but Wisconsin dominated.
Offensively, Nebraska was good enough to win that game for sure.
Except they only had 18 paint points. Got doubled up 36-18.
They scored 72 points. That should be good enough, ish, on the road.
That's kind of in that
range.
Yeah,
Wisconsin's good, and especially playing there. It's just a weird. It is such a like yellow, dark, gloomy feel to the Kohl Center. First time I was ever been there, and I was like, man, like, I need to change the lights in here or something. Like, it's kind of a yellowish feeling to it. Nebraska didn't play well on the road. Here's the thing. Like, people talk about the Minnesota game and losing that game, which Nebraska should have won that game, for sure. Should have won that game. And it's hard to win on the road in the Big Ten. Like, if you have to protect your home court, and if you can steal a couple of wins, then you do it. It is very hard to win on the road. Ask Illinois. They lost to Rutgers at Rutgers. Illinois is top 10 team in the country. Like, it's not easy to do that. So Nebraska now has to take this momentum. They have to sort of flush it, right, and move on to Iowa, who is very capable, especially in Iowa City on Friday night in a late game.
Especially offensively.
Yes. That's what I mean. Yeah. Offensively, they're tremendous. But it's how do they're going to have to guard the 3-point line really well.
Iowa on Friday and then at Rutgers, which the rack, again,
really hard
will always be the rack. Hard place to play.
Yeah.
And
really
Nebraska is 1-2 on the road right now. They've only played 3 true road games, and Kansas State's the only one they lost. They went up there and lost to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Only
one they won.
Kansas State is the only one they won. Mm-hmm. They lost to Minnesota, and now they've lost to Wisconsin. So they got to show they can win on the road. And it's coming off of a game like that at home against Purdue. You're feeling great.
Emotional.
Now 2 tough road games. Like, you got to find a way to bottle that up to carry that.
And if you look at it, these are 2 of the bottom-ish teams in the league. You don't want to lose to them. Yeah. Like, if you can
keep yourself separated from that part of the conference,
you don't want to be in the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You need to win. You go 1-1 here, you feel pretty decent.
But kind of putting a bow on it though, like, so the win boosted them up 12 spots in KenPom to 41 and 12 spots in the net to 46.
Yeah.
They're
not on the. That's not bubble anymore.
Yeah, that's very solid.
That's
shape.
like a 10.
And they've got their resume win. Like, you get to the end of the season, like, hey, they've got to win over Purdue.
And they don't have a resume loss. I mean,
Minnesota's improved.
Minnesota's
themselves.
won 6 games in a row.
Yeah, they're still got some work to do to not kind of.
They just beat Michigan State.
Yeah. Well,
everyone's like chalking up Nebraska's Michigan State win. Well, Minnesota just beat them too.
Yeah.
Michigan State probably isn't that great this year.
Exactly. So that's just kind of where Nebraska is coming out of this win.
Right.
So you mentioned the Wisconsin trip. You took a detour on the way up to Madison.
Sure. Took a detour to Milwaukee, or a suburb of Milwaukee, to watch Nick Janowski play. The 2020 class of 2024 signee.
Yep.
He can really shoot. Like his shot in warm-ups, I didn't watch I'm talking halftime warm-ups because I got there right as they were doing introductions. He doesn't miss. Like it's like, and if he does, it's barely. And his makes, like the rim are definitely don't touch the rim. And
barely touch the net.
The net barely moves, like on the makes. It is such a pure shot. And it just feels different, right? It looks different, feels different. Really good kid, really nice player. I talked to him after the game, and he fits what they want in Nebraska from a culture perspective.
Yeah.
Guy wakes up at 4:30 in the morning every day to like get a workout in, and then he probably works out 3-4 times a day. Gets a lift at like 9 p.m.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
to
what
finish
Hoiberg
his
said
day.
on signing day. Like
He works.
Yeah,
he's a worker, and he's a do whatever it takes to win kind of guy. I was just really impressed with that. I talked to Coach Burkamper, his high school coach, after the game too, and about Nick, and it kind of echoed the same things that we're hearing. It's if multiple people are saying it, it's probably true as far as a player's concerned like that. And just talking to him, he exudes confidence and toughness, mentally tough. Really, you can feel he's mentally tough, and he's a leader. He's very vocal on the defensive end, which a lot of times high school kids aren't.
Yeah.
You got to kind of drag that out of them. And even during timeouts, he's coaching up his teammates and all of that. I mean, there's some stuff there. He does, athletically is limited a little bit, but he I'm not saying he's going to come in and be like star, whatever, all American freshman guy. But what I am saying is he fits exactly what they want from a culture perspective at Nebraska right now.
Yep. And for more on that, go check out the Hill Varsity page on hurrdatsports.com. Mike had a full write-up with his thoughts and with the comments from Coach and Janowski himself. So good read there. And we will be back next week after we see how Nebraska fares on the road. This has been Nebraska Shootaround.